Kind of on a lighter note, because we've got a lot of great sports to talk about in the Queen City coming up this weekend. We did want to talk about Charlotte FC, which is back in town. Saturday, there's going to be a match against Chicago Fire, and probably maybe fans excited for them to be back on home turf. So let's bring in Callum Williams, who's play-by-play voice for soccer and is joining us live right now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Okay, so we mentioned Charlotte back here. They'll be playing in Bank of America Stadium. Probably good for them considering the losing streak they're on and the fact that they do seem to be playing so well when they are at home, right?
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to speak to Dean Smith, the head coach of Charlotte FC, a little earlier today. And he said to me, look, at the moment, performance-wise, it's actually been okay. It's not been disastrous, but from a results point of view, obviously very disappointing. You know, Vanessa, it's the first time in franchise history that the team have gone 4 Major League Soccer defeats in a row. This happens in some way, shape or form throughout any season, throughout the entirety of world football. This is not something to be panicking about, in my opinion. This is just a bad stretch of form for Charlotte FC. But the one thing that Dean Smith understands is how important these home games are now. They are beyond integral. In the next 9 games in Major League Soccer, just 2 of them are at home. And Dean Smith was very quick to say to me today he understands how integral victories are, particularly in front of what he called some of the best fans he's ever seen in world football.
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly, anyone who's gone to a match knows that atmosphere and how that really can play into things in a positive way. Seemingly, one of the recent struggles we're seeing with Charlotte is just not capitalizing on potentials to score. So what do you think the team can do to try to navigate that problem?
Yeah, look, you're completely right. It's been a problem for Charlotte FC. Since coming into Major League Soccer several years ago, I can't think off the top of my head ever there really being a player where you look at on the roster on paper and you think, yeah, that's the guy that's going to score multiple goals. That's the guy that's going to get you out of a problem should you find yourself in one. Patrick Augiman got 10 goals last year, and I think surprised a lot of people. Did very well with the US men's national team, 3 goals in 4 games. But again, Dean Smith said to me just earlier today that he's yet to really find his rhythm. This week has been difficult because it's been 3 games in 7 days. Obviously, the majority of those games have been on the road as well, so Dean Smith has had to move people in and out. I'd expect Patrick Augiman to start tomorrow against Chicago Fire because I think he matches up quite well with who I expect to play at centre-half for Chicago Fire. But that doesn't mean he'll offer a goal threat. I've said before on various different podcasts and what have you that I think he offers a lot. I think he's very good in terms of holding the ball up. I think he's very good in terms of offering an option as a target man and bringing people into play, offering an outlet when Charlotte find themselves deep in their own half and they need to get out very quickly. He's the kind of person that can hold the ball up. He's very good at getting in behind as well, which has been useful for Charlotte because they're very good at playing long direct balls over the top as well. But the problem with Patrick Augiman has always been he's not been consistent enough in front of goal. They've had options in the likes of Lille Abada. They've had Pep Biel, of course, who has scored goals over the course of the season so far. But the big problem for Charlotte at the moment, as you quite rightly say, is there's no real major recognised goal scorer. I wonder if they'll address that in the next window over the summer.
All right, Jeb here, the producer. From one side of the pitch to the other, we've seen reports that Christian Kina may be entering paternity leave. It looks like the birth of his first child. Obviously, former goalkeeper of the year, had a little bit of some form struggles, if you will. You know, probably let a goal or 2 in against Nashville that he probably would like back. David Bingham, you know, we saw he was fantastic with the Earthquakes. Bit of a journeyman. Do we think he'll get the nod? Have you heard anything about the goalkeeping situation tomorrow?
No, all I heard was that his wife had gone into labour, and obviously we wish him and his family all the best with that situation, and we hope that ultimately they have a bouncing baby that is good and healthy and no problem. And in this instance, I think football can be pushed aside, right? But honestly, having seen football across the world for many a year now, it wouldn't surprise me if the baby is born and everything's good, and Christian Kalina finds himself on the pitch the next day, because that's just what footballers tend to do. They understand the importance of 3 points, and I'm sure it'll come with the blessing of his partner. But Christian Kalina, to my understanding, I think he's going to be okay and raring to go. I'm not entirely sure how much sleep he's going to get. But look, if he isn't ready to go, as you mentioned, Jeb, they have a reliable backup in David Bingham, who's been in the league for many, many years, as you mentioned, with the Galaxy and San Jose Earthquakes, Portland Timbers, hundreds of appearances in Major League Soccer, in his mid-30s now. So if there is the need for the stand-in goalkeeper, then Charlotte FC will be in safe hands.
All right, Vanessa back here in the anchor seat, taking over with this next question here. So I guess we'll keep it here defensively, because we have been seeing some, I guess, unusual mistakes from folks, and also some injuries that are kind of making things a bit worse for the team. So what can you say as far as that situation, and how the outlook is for that going forward?
It's been an uncharacteristic spell for Charlotte FC from a defensive point of view. Let's not forget, this was the team that conceded 37 goals last year. They were second across the entirety of Major League Soccer with the second best defensive record. Only Seattle Sounders conceded fewer. So this is a team that has been built very much from the back line. And of course, Christian Kalina had a big say in many of those results, and as to why they kept so many clean sheets and conceded so few goals. But Adilson Malonda has been someone who I think has shone and developed ever so well over the course of the last couple of years. I was in France just a month or so ago for work, and had a conversation with a couple of people, and some of the people involved in French football were quite confused as to how he seemed to slip through the cracks in French football. And so to my understanding, that there may very well be an eyeball or two on Adilson Malonda, because quite frankly, he's been one of the best defenders across Major League Soccer. Particularly over the course of the last 2 years, I think. And so they'll need him to step up. I think it's 31 clearances so far this year, which makes him technically and statistically the most busiest defender in Major League Soccer, which is not a stat you ever really want involved with your team. But Malonda has been near flawless, and once again, they'll need him to step up. Tim Ream obviously has an abundance of experience, has played at the World Cup, has been there and gotten the T-shirt in the English Premier League, and with the US men's national team. So I think now this is about experience for Charlotte and the backline. But I also wonder, how much protection are that Charlotte FC backline getting? I'm a big fan of Ashley Westwood. He played for my team in England for many years, Aston Villa. But at the age of 35 now, I wonder, does he just need a little bit more help alongside him in protecting the backline? Because it's clear Charlotte right now are conceding a lot of opportunities.
Jeb again here, and we talk about experienced midfielders. Well, it might necessarily be helping out Westy. I want to talk about Pep Biel. Obviously, coming back from an injury, didn't necessarily look like himself against Nashville, but I think there are arguments, a few members of the team could say the same. Should we expect the old Pep Biel back at home, or are we still concerned about that injury he picked up? Is he still coming back? What are you hearing?
I think it depends, really, Jeb, in the role that he plays in. I know for the last game or two he's played in a wider area and has been tucked inside a little bit, almost in the half spaces. And that's a good role for him, tucking inside on his favoured foot and being able to provide service for whoever the centre forward is going to be. But I think they just need to get the ball to him more. I think they need to get the ball to him quicker. I think they need to find ways to just simply move the ball quicker as well. But I think this is a situation where, look, this is a player that's had no goal contribution in the last 3 games. This was after 7 in the first 6. He started the season miraculously and marvellously. And again, I think this is a situation where sometimes players just go through a little bit of a rut. It's 3 games without a goal contribution. It's not like it's 10 games, you know. And so I just think they need to find some consistency. They need to find a little bit of rhythm. And if they can move the ball in the manner in which they want to, find the feet of Pep Biel, and if Patrick Agyemang makes the runs he's supposed to do and opens up some space, I could see the likes of Leo Labada and co. Really being the beneficiary of the likes of Pep Biel and Patrick Agyemang against Chicago Fire.
All right, Vanessa back here again. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I do feel like Charlotte FC fans are getting to the point where I think there's an expectation that they do better and better every year. As we talk about potentials for playoffs, I know in the distance, in the future, how do you feel the team is gelling and coming together and comparing to maybe other teams in the standings? Do you feel confident? How are you feeling as we get closer and closer?
I think they're good. I think, like every team, particularly in what is an extraordinarily competitive Eastern Conference this year, they will think they have a chance. They will think that they will be able to finish in the top four, which nowadays in Major League Soccer guarantees you a home playoff game. But the problem is, Vanessa, is that there's about 10 to 12 teams that think the same as well. So it's very competitive right now. And I keep going back to what we mentioned earlier on and the lack of goals, really, for Charlotte. And again, Dean Smith said to us this morning that the problem has been not being able to put the ball away consistently on a regular basis. And I think right now, if you look at the front four that they have, and the front five, depending on how you draw it up, I think there's goals in it. The late arriving runs of Brant Bronico have caused the problems, but I wouldn't describe him as a major goal scorer. Leo Labada has, I think it's 3 goals in the last 4 games now, who can provide plenty from the central midfield or in the wide areas, depending on where he's played. But I think, with all due respect, I think when you have somebody like Wilfried Zaha on the roster, this is a player that I'm sure many Charlotte FC fan knows, and many viewers of soccer in the state will know that he played for Crystal Palace. He played for Manchester United, albeit very briefly. He's plied his trade in Turkey for the last couple of years. He had an opportunity to play at Lyon in Ligue 1 in the top tier of French football as well. And so this is a player with a very, very good footballing resume. And so for somebody like him to come here is great for Major League Soccer. I don't think it's as big as what it would have been, say, 5 or 10 years ago, but somebody being here shows the ambition of Charlotte. It shows the type of club that they want to be. It shows they're not afraid to spend money. But the simple fact of the matter is that 4 goals in 11 games is okay, but no assist in 11 games, I think, is slightly problematic for somebody who is a designated player, somebody who is earning a lot of money. Quite frankly, a lot of expectations on someone like Wilfried Zaha, quite rightly so as well. So I mentioned the word consistency earlier on, Vanessa. He would be somebody who I think the club need to desperately see more consistency from.
Yeah, too right you are. Anything else you'd like to leave us with here before we wrap things up regarding Saturday?
Look, I will say Chicago Fire are a very good team. They have been on a bit of a rancid run over the course of the last couple of weeks, but they did get themselves back to winning ways against Atlanta United last week. And Atlanta not having a great season, but they've spent an awful lot of money as well, and on paper have arguably one of the best teams in Major League Soccer. At the moment, Chicago Fire, I think, lack a little bit of defensive organization. But at the moment, from an attacking perspective, they have the Danish winger Zinkernagel, who is very, very dangerous, is somebody who causes problems by tucking inside as well. Bamba was a league winner with Lille just 3 years ago, was playing in the Champions League. Coming in from Celta Vigo in the off-season and has been very dangerous as well. But the main threat for Chicago Fire is Hugo Kuipers. Hugo Kuipers is a Belgian centre-forward who scored no fewer than 54 goals in 2 seasons in the Belgian top flight. Came to Major League Soccer last year and scored 10 goals, did okay, but has had a new lease of life under Greg Berhalter. And he's finding himself so many opportunities. He's finding himself in the right positions to score the goals that he needs to. 8 goals in 12 games already so far this year in Major League Soccer. So that's the main threat from a Chicago Fire point of view. But I think, as you mentioned quite rightly so, given the home record that Charlotte have, I think Dean Smith will expect a home win on Saturday.
As we all will, who are rooting for Charlotte FC. Callum, this was so much fun. Thanks for joining us here on Live Impact News. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.